So you might wonder why I'm here with you today. I know many of you have come to Menlo, you've seen us. Why would this program hold a particular interest to me? One is I'm, head over heels in love with Diana Wong, and I am married, and my wife would support me in that comment. So you seldom say no to Diana on anything, on any front. But this particular program resonated with me, and I'm gonna go back a ways. I'm gonna go back to a gift I received. In a day like today, when you're celebrating, it's often on celebration days like this we receive gifts. I guess you're gonna receive some gifts here. I can tell you that for me is author joy. That's what I call it when I see piles of my books going out into people's hands. You think of Christmas, you think of birthdays, anytime we receive gifts, sometimes there's gifts we pull out and we focus on, sometimes there's gifts we pull out and we look at and go, get back to that. I want to talk about a gift I received, and I want to talk about a gift you've received. So the gift I received actually happened for me probably back about 1979, 1980. I was a student at the University of Michigan. I was walking down State Street near the University of Michigan campus. I was studying computer science, computer engineering. Quite frankly, I felt my future looked very bright. It seemed like the right time and the right industry was something I was incredibly passionate about. And on that walk, I received a gift. And it was in this little box. And I opened it up and I looked at it and I kind of thought, And I put the lid back in the box and I set the gift down, probably like we do with some gifts we received, and I didn't look at it again for a long time. At the end of the story, I'll tell you what the gift was, because it has hopefully some meaning for you today in where you're at in your life. Life happened, I finished my degrees, I completed my program, I took a job locally here in Ann Arbor. I had lots of job offers from around the country, as all my peers did at the University of Michigan. When you're a computer science, computer engineering grad from the University of Michigan, you can pretty much write your ticket anywhere. That was certainly true in 1982 when I graduated from the University of Michigan with a master's degree in computer engineering. But I chose to stay here in Ann Arbor. And, back in 1982, I was already married for a few years. A couple of years later, we would have our first daughter. I'd already moved one job to another because I was starting to hit what I call my personal trough of disillusionment already. I was starting to lose heart for the profession I had chosen. But life gets in the way, doesn't it? You take the jobs, you buy the house, you have the kids, your life gets busy. You forget maybe why you chose to do what you did. You keep plowing ahead because now you have great responsibilities in your life. I'm sure you can all relate to this in your own lives. And life just keeps getting busy and you keep trying to fight through. You wake up maybe a few times like I did in the middle of the night groaning because my career wasn't going in the direction I'd hoped it would. Which was weird because from the outside view, probably like a lot of you, from the outside view, my career looked perfect. Every year brought promotions and raises and stock options, and greater responsibility and bigger title and bigger office and bigger teams. And the world kept saying, Rich, you're doing a great job, just keep doing it. But there was this one problem. Inside, I was dying. I didn't want to do what I was doing anymore. And yet, I'd come home at night and I'd be greeted by those three beautiful little girls of mine, and the dog would run up the stairs. A few years later, only the dog would come up to see me. But in the early days, the girls wanted to see me too. My wife would greet me. She'd kind of look in my eyes. She'd say, honey, you look really tired today. You had a long day? Yeah. Did you get a lot done? No. But boy, did I work hard. In the midst of all this, I never let go of the dream. I never let go of this idea I had that I could love my work. I could love what I did for a profession. One day I was promoted to vice president of product development, of R&D for a local public company. It was going to be a very high-flying story in Ann Arbor. I mean, the world was my oyster. If I multiplied my stock options all together, they were worth millions of dollars at that point. I can guarantee you that was Excel spreadsheet wealth, and that was it. Okay. Never bought a car with it, never sent a kid to college with it. It was all an illusion, because in 1999 the world was going crazy in my industry. Everything was rising, as was the fortunes of the company I was now an R&D director for. It was a job I resisted, though. I told my boss I didn't want it. He's like, "Why?" I said, "I hate working here." It's kind of a bold move to tell your CEO, and he got really mad at me. He threw me out of his office, and I came back the next day, and I said, "Look, I'll do it on one condition. I get to build the best darn software team this town's ever seen." 2 more years of hard work, and I still wasn't getting where I wanted to go, and then suddenly things started to change dramatically. Quite frankly, that was about the time, unbeknownst to both of us, that Diana Wong entered my life through a guy that she taught named James Goebel, who eventually became my co-founder. And James had read books like I did and studied things on human organization development. A lot of the practices and ideas would come out of those couple of years that I worked side by side with James. And quite frankly, after 2 years of doing that, I was back to joy. 2 years, I got back to the thing I always wanted to be as a kid. I got back to an incredible culture. If you've seen Menlo, know that the first time I built one of these was inside that tired old public company. I helped transform that organization with the help of my co-founder now at Menlo, James Goebel, and the support of my CEO, but I got 2 years to run this grand experiment. And then in 2001, something fairly dramatic happened, and it was all taken away from me. Everything. Everything was taken away from me. Well, not everything. I still had my daughters and my wife and the cars and the house and all the financial responsibilities that went along with those. But in 2001, when the internet bubble burst, I got the call from the California parent that had bought us. "Rich, lay off your team. Oh, by the way, we don't need you anymore either, so your last act is to lock the door behind you." So suddenly, the job was gone. The stock options were gone. The grand and glorious corner office was gone. The team was gone. Everything was gone except for one thing. Well, maybe two. What I'd learned those previous 2 years was still with me. And James Goebel was losing his job too. I went home that night and I told my wife that I'd lost my job that day. She looked at me, tears in her eyes, and she said, "Really? You're unemployed?" I said, "No, honey, I'm an entrepreneur now." To this day, she says, "I had no idea what he meant." She thought we were down in the basement, like filling out resumes and applying for jobs. But the trouble was, in 2001, for people in my profession, there were no jobs. There were hundreds of thousands of us let go at that point. In fact, if you read the newspaper articles back in those days, the world was convinced that IT in the United States would never, ever achieve the promise it once held. It was all going offshore. It was all going faraway places. And so my job was gone. My career shut down. My profession left the country. My whole industry is gone. And what did I decide to do? Start a business in that profession. It's a crazy idea. And then a few years later, after Menlo was growing, that gift I told you about presented itself to me. Now, the gift I'm talking about, it's a metaphor. You see, what had happened to that 20-year-old kid back at the University of Michigan while I was walking on State Street was the gift of an idea. What was given to me at 20 years old was the idea that I would create one day my own company. And it would be an amazing culture. It would be this wide open space. It would be a team filled with human energy that was doing creative things like that Menlo Park, New Jersey lab of Thomas Edison that I saw as a kid. And it was this fleeting moment where I could perfectly envision this thing in my head, and then I tucked that gift away and I set it on the shelf, and I never thought about it again until about 2007. 6 years into having started Menlo, one day I walked into the building, And everything was rocking and rolling at Menlo. You've seen the energy in the room if you've been to it. And I walked in, and like a box in my head, this little box opened up and said, "Congratulations, you've achieved your dream of the 20-year-old." And I remember that day like it was yesterday. It was shocking. Why? Because I'd never thought about that again after that day. I thought about it as a 20-year-old, and suddenly, boom, here it was, like 2006. I had this dream in 1980. We're 26 years away from that little gift that was given to me. And now suddenly it's given back to me. It's a reminder to say, wow, Rich, you did it. Congratulations. You created the thing you wanted to when you were 20. My breath was taken away. I thought, how can that be? What magical bus driver has been in my head steering me towards this goal all this time just to get me to this place that I'm finally at, where I always wanted to be from when I was a kid, through all the turmoil, through all the tumult, through all the job loss, and it looked like everything was going away, through all the pain of entrepreneurship. It was all taken away. And then it was back, and I got it. Now I want to talk about your gift. You see, you have one of those boxes somewhere in your closet of your mind. It's hiding. Maybe it was when you were 8, maybe it was when you were 20, but you have it. In the hubbub of life, in the pain of job loss, in the torment of career somewhere along the way, you forgot to look back at that box, and I can just tell you, go try and find that gift. Dig through your past. Dig through all the things that they pulled you through this program. Why is this program important to me? Because, quite frankly, in many ways, your story is my story. When I see you come into Menlo, when I see you visit, I see me. That was me. You see, I achieved that dream, and then it was all taken away from me, yet I still fought to get back to it. I encourage you to do the same. Thank you very much.